Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. In the honor of, or in the celebration of Halloween, I thought it'd be a good time to discuss the best horror franchises. So these franchises that have been around for decades, some even half a century, that have permeated throughout society, who has been a staple of our childhood and of our lives. Horror films, they come out year round. Most of the time they come around out around Halloween, but most of these franchises come out any time of the year, and you're able to watch these and then rewatch more Halloween. So there are a lot of franchises to choose from, and I'll break them each down a little bit. But the following series that I have in contention for the best horror series or franchises are the Saw series, of course, the Child Play series, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Streets, The Conjurings, and then Final Destination. So there's a lot of great horror franchises to choose from, which are all great in their own right for whatever your preference is. There's pretty much different subgenres of horror films that you can watch, whether it's gory or it's just um, the mass killer type, like the Friday the 13th, so the Halloween movies. But then you have the gory type, that's which is like the Final Destinations, or then you have just the straight up spooky stuff like the Conjuring. But most people feel that the acting on these movies are horrible, and it's just horrible plots, and it's just bad films. But I think they serve a purpose, these horror films, just for the excitement. And I think I get a lot of comedy out of these horror films, just from how people try to get away from um, the drama or the unalivings. It's pretty funny to watch sometimes in hindsight. But I think just being a fan of all of the months from October all the way to December, horror films play a big role towards the end of the year, especially in October, of course. But um, I think it's just a lot to choose from. But I just wanted to pick my favorite ones, uh, and then at the end, I'll probably pick the one that I think is the best. Um, of course, if you know me, Child's Play is a film or a franchise that I like a lot, from the Chucky dolls and the story. I think it has the best storyline as well, of the Charles Lee Ray, the Lakeshore Strangler, putting his soul inside of a doll and trying to find another body. Um, but it started to get watered down after the Bride of Chucky. Once that Seed of Chucky started, I just checked out from that point. Then they have the TV miniseries, which I thought was kind of cheesy. But if you're talking about Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, those were classic, and I think all of those deserve a right in this discussion, just because of the storyline that it had and the different characters, and they had a consistent character in Andy through all three of them. A lot of the pieces changed, but then it was still the constant of Chucky and Andy, and it created a great storyline for me as far as horror films, and that's why I always put it in my top in horror films. But in terms of longevity, I think Friday the 13th has the most in this discussion, but and it has the most universal recognition because of the hockey mask and everything that comes with Jason and his mystique. Um, and the machete and all the merchandise. Like, I think his this is the most, as far as merchandise goes, it produces the most merchandise sales out of any other franchises, because most of the other franchises are outdated, or they don't have that same pizzazz that Friday the 13th has, and it has so much longevity going all the way back to the 80s. So it's been around for over 40 years. Um, so Friday the 13th has always been a classic. So I think it deserves a place in this discussion. But me personally, I'm more of a fan of the Halloween series, and I think that is the best horror franchise series, uh, for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because of Jamie Lee Curtis. I've been a fan of her acting and things like that. So Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, in a dynamic that she's had, with the consistency that she's had as well. It's another franchise that's been around for over 4 decades, and she's been a constant in there despite other movies she's played in. She's always made time for the Halloween series. Uh, so I think that's one reason. And then the natural humor that comes around with the Halloween series that Friday the 13th doesn't have. And one of the Halloween movies, Michael Myers is actually driving a car, which was hilarious to me. Just to think he could operate a car because he's just so one track minded. You'd think he wouldn't have the time to do things like that, but it was just hilarious for me to see him actually driving a vehicle. It's just humor that I don't think they really meant, but maybe they did, but maybe they didn't. But the Halloween, even and then another thing was the Halloween Kills movie that they had recently. I think it was in 2018. They had a scene where the kid is telling the girl that Michael Myers is coming, and we don't see him until the next movie when he's on the news talking about that he saw a guy do this. So it was kind of funny to me that he got out of the way, and then we didn't see him to the next movie because I was wondering in that movie what happened to him, but you didn't see him to the next movie. So that's pretty hilarious to me. But I always hold Halloween in higher regards than most movies just because of the sheer longevity and the consistency they had with the two characters, even more so than even Child's Play. But I think the Saw movies are more gory. They had a great storyline for a little bit of the Jigsaw character actually passing away, but he had an apprentice still doing his work. And then just everything of the characters always having some peculiar situation that put them in that situation to get out of the unaliving situation. I think that's a great storytelling aspect as well because it creates that it's not just unaliving for no reason. There's a purpose to what Jigsaw was doing. So I think that was always interesting as well. But I think the Conjuring movies might be the most scariest movies, even though I don't think any of them just particularly scary. But the Conjuring movies have an aspect of reality to them. They're kind of somewhat supposed to be based on a true story. So I always think that The Conjuring is kind of creepy to watch. I have never finished all of them. I think I watched two and never finished all of them. It's just too much to watch. Not saying I was scared of them, but it was just too eerie to watch, and I just felt in a weird place. So I couldn't really watch those. But I always felt that the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were overrated just because I mean it has a lot of longevity, but I just think there's not enough character development or there's not a lot of personality to those movies, and there's a lot of nostalgia. Those movies really need to be revived, and I think they need to have more. Well, they do have comedy to them, but I think they just need to have more spunk and personality to them. So I'm pretty sure if they get with the right director, they can revive them. But as far as Nightmare on Elm Street goes, I think it's overrated. One of the worst horror villains I think ever is Freddy Krueger. So, but like I said before, if I have to pick a franchise, it's gonna be Halloween. It dates all the way back to 1978. Um, the Myers character and his nostalgia, also Jamie Lee Curtis, adding to that family dynamic of playing his sister and him trying to unalive his sister for over 4 decades and still haven't been able to do so. It's just a great film, horror film, I should say. But tell me what you think your favorite Halloween franchise is, and until next time, I'll see you next time.